So we have a Q&A session here, or where also you can comment and just also share about your practice or anything you have on your mind. I know a couple of people have questions, and I asked them to ask them at this session, so maybe we'll start with that and then you can take it from there. Donnie had one question here. Donnie. Oh, yes. Yes, Venerable Jompa had a question was about the meditation where you, become, your flesh falls away and you become a skeleton, and the skeleton increases in size and bones fill the whole universe, and then it decreases in size again, and you focus here. Well, sometimes you can focus just on the top of your skull, sometimes you focus here. So one question was, how long can you concentrate on that point? As long as you want to. Mm-hmm. Okay. And also there's two ways to do that. The way that was described in that chapter, you just go immediately to that point. I've also heard it where the skeleton decreases size, and then you imagine all the flesh coming back on from the feet and up, and your torso, and the flesh coming back on, and then just leaving that little bit of the skull exposed, and then focusing on that. Is that in the paper like that? Oh, okay. Okay. So there's no time limit. And then another question was about the 4 mindfulnesses in the Vajrayana, because we do the prayer by the 7th Dalai Lama. We chant that one after lunch. And no, there's no one-to-one correspondence between those 4 mindfulnesses and the 4 in this practice. You can see there is some overlap in the sense of in the sutra practice, there's mindfulness of the body. In the tantric practice, there's mindfulness of yourself as the deity. So there's some kind of correspondence there. In the sutra practice, there's mindfulness of the mind. In the tantra practice, there's the mindfulness, clarity and luminosity and emptiness. So there's some things that are similar, but there's not a one-to-one correspondence, and there doesn't have to be.
Mm-hmm. And there's another question in it about the body meditation. Would this meditation you described be sufficient for realizing the point that the body is foul?
Which meditation?
About the skeleton.
Yeah, there's a number of. Oh, the question was: is the meditation on the skeleton sufficient to realize that the body is foul? Yeah, if you do it really well, why not? Yeah, they have a variety of meditations so that you can, sometimes it's helpful to look at the body from, many different angles, but you can pick one of those that really gets to you and use that as the primary one. Yeah, I find on that one, imagining the flesh coming back on, that is what really ugh, ugh. Anybody else have that reaction? Yeah, like somehow the bones were just clean and pure in some way, but then the flesh and the organs were, ugh. Yeah, right. Susan?
Well, just once, I did that, but I cheated. And when it came time to put everything back, I thought, oh, no way. I'm not putting that stuff back. So I just pictured everything purified, and then I just started building it all back up, and I felt so good.
Yeah. But what, if you do it where you're just putting all your junk back, then you see the importance in the tantric practice of imagining yourself as the deity and how much that changes your mind. Yeah, because sometimes when you're just doing the tantric practice, it's like, you know, it doesn't mean anything to you. But when you do this practice, then you see the power of the other one. Yeah?
Is it okay to imagine bones like, I don't know, like polished ebony, something really beautiful?
No, they're just bones. They're just plain old, simple bones. They're not like ivory. You're not going to find some way to make them gorgeous. That's not the purpose of the meditation.
Is it okay to modify? Let's say I was drinking tea and I was imagining, you know, just skeleton and just like tea dripping.
It's what is leaking out. Yeah, I mean, they advise sometimes when you're doing it, you know, when you're watching everybody, to think that it's a bunch of skeletons walking around, or a bunch of corpses walking around, because that's kind of it.
With those meditations, like the skeleton and the ones with the corpse, I always find like once I'm either the corpse or the skeleton, I just see it as a corpse or as a skeleton. So is one supposed to be like, I am a skeleton? Is that because when I get to a skeleton, I'm just like, okay, I see there's a skeleton inside, but you know, I'm not the body. I'm not. So I just see it from outside, kind of like it's big or whatever. Or I see the corpse there and I imagine it turning, you know, and it's like, okay, everybody has this, but I don't see myself as that. Is that okay? Or?
You're another version of her. Trying to keep some distance from it. So you might start out like that, but the basic thing with the skeleton is this is your skeleton that is, you know, growing and filling the whole universe. Yeah, it's your skeleton.
But it's not that like we are a skeleton. No? It's one of the aggregates. It's one of the things that
Yeah.
life. But then it keeps changing. Mine keeps just moment by moment, right? So I find it very hard to identify with the skeleton.
Yeah, but if you sit here and you imagine all the flesh falling away and just feel the bones sitting there, and then you imagine these bones expanding in size and multiplying until they fill the whole universe. Yeah. And at a certain point, you might, you know, go, well, what about this is mine? What about this is me? It's just all bones. So that's a really good question. Then you start getting into selflessness. Like, here's this whole universe filled with bones, and what about it is me? Yeah. When you imagine the corpse, you can start out with a corpse in front, but it's much more effective if you think of your own body as a corpse, or imagine your own body lying there, you know?
Because I've seen not a lot, but I've seen quite some corpse. And at the beginning I was like, okay, all the corpse that I've seen, I put in there, and I don't see them in a lot of decay. But then I'm like, okay, how does my corpse look like? And I just see, but then once again, it's just the corpse.
Yeah, but then you can identify with that corpse. Yeah.
It's no longer like, because once one dies, it's just...
It's not you, exactly. Yeah, but see, gets into, if you start seeing your present body, what it's going to look like as a corpse. You know, sometimes what you see is how attached you are to that body. Yeah. Sometimes what comes to your mind is, well, what about that is me, and why am I so attached? Why is there so much fear of death and separating from this body if this body isn't me? Sometimes, people have all sorts of different things come up. Well, what am I going to look like in the casket with all my friends walking by? But, because some people really care about what they're going to look like in the casket, and they want to look good. No, seriously, they do. They do. They care very much about what happens to their body. You look at just the way we treat the body. When soldiers die in war, we bring the bodies back here. We fix them up so that they look good. We embalm them, they look great. All they are is rotting meat. Yeah, but people are so attached to their friends' and relatives' bodies, even their corpses. And from our side, we could be very attached to what happens to my body. I don't want my body just thrown in some ditch and forgotten about. I want my body properly buried, because people don't see the body as just a piece of meat. They're seeing it as, there's something me about it, and I want that honored and respected, and a little plaque, and something with my name on it.
You don't want to look like some corpse.
Exactly. Exactly. You don't want to look. And I remember being at the funeral of my friend's mother, and she had died of Hodgkin's. And I heard people saying, "Oh, I haven't seen her look this good in a long time." When they looked in the casket. Yeah? So it's a good opportunity for us to look at how we relate to our body.
I have another question related to the breathing meditation.
Uh-huh.
And the one where it's going in through the soles of your feet and through the channel and up to your nose. Well, the order that's listed is you feel it in the nose, the throat.
Yeah, it's going
And
down.
that's difficult because if I see my breath, it's coming in and it hits my navel first.
Yeah. No, but first you imagine it going down and out, and then you imagine it coming back in.
Okay. And I'm doing it right.
Yeah.
Okay. Because
Yeah.
I was trying to, as it comes in,
No.
trying to get to the nose.
No. You start with the nose and it comes in, it goes down, and then it comes back up.
That's one of those questions that
Yeah. Okay. So how is your meditation going? Are people having difficulties with anything? Are there things, questions about your practice or about what's coming up that you would like to discuss? Yeah.
I'm interested in focusing on the feeling component for most sessions.
Mm-hmm.
And what's happening sometimes, and this has happened before, is sometimes I get kind of dulled, and I think it's been helpful for me to look at what's causing this and kind of ask myself some questions about my experience of the feeling. But I still have this thing that comes up sometimes where my mind gets kind of, I don't know, I used to do that sometimes to make my mind more neutral. I don't know why, because maybe it took me out of stories and this and that. It might be that
So
thing.
you think you're kind of zoning out?
Sometimes I think I'm kind of zoning out, and I guess the way I've worked at keeping it more fresh is to kind of ask myself questions about feeling. Is this a bodily feeling? Is this a mental feeling?
Exactly.
What's
Yes.
causing this? What is this creating?
Yes.
Try
You
to
should be asking
analyze the
yourself
feelings
those kinds of
before
questions.
thinking.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, when you're doing with the body, it's not just watching the feeling, but asking yourself, what's causing this feeling? Yeah. Is it a physical feeling? Is it a mental feeling?
And I've been trying to
Is it?
recreate scenarios, because you talked about this
Mhm.
in the BBC talk, about bringing up a scenario, examining the feeling you had there to see how that kind of played into the reactivity.
Mhm. Yeah, and you don't need to take a lot of time recreating scenarios. It's not about that, but just even something that happened day by day, something that happened at breakfast, then because sometimes when you come to sit down, you feel different when you sit down, and you're not sure why. And to say, well, why, what is this that I'm feeling, and what triggered it, and how am I responding? With ignorance, anger, and attachment, with some form of craving, some form of clinging, and because with the mindfulness on feelings, you really want to see the link, the causal link that produces the feeling, and especially what the feeling produces, how it leads to craving, how it leads to afflictions, and how that creates karma, and how that keeps you bound in cyclic existence. And that brings you into the meditation on the 12 links of dependent arising, and you begin to see that between the link of feeling and the link of craving is where you can, one place where you can cut the 12 links. That instead of just knee-jerk reacting to our feelings, to be able to step back and just experience them, but not let the affliction come up.
It seems like I don't have enough clarity. So what I've done is done a lot of breathing meditation first to try to get my mind.
Yeah, but also make sure when you're doing the breathing meditation, you're not spacing out.
Yeah, for some reason that's easier.
Yeah.
But yes. Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
I'm getting kind of, I have been doing mostly the mindfulness of the body, but then I moved to the feelings for one day,
Mm-hmm.
and I get really confused in the descriptions that His Holiness made about mindfulness of the feelings. He was talking about how you experience a perception, and then a neutral, pleasant, or unpleasant feeling arises. Does it arise automatically?
Mm-hmm.
We always.
Mm-hmm.
Does a Buddha experience?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, a Buddha doesn't have painful feelings, but a Buddha has feelings.
Right.
A Buddha has 5 aggregates, and feeling is one of the aggregates.
Okay. I see.
It isn't like being a Buddha makes you a piece of wood.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
What exactly is a neutral feeling?
When you're not feeling, actually the specific term is not pleasure, not pain. So when there's neither of these.
But it's still a feeling?
Yeah, it's still a feeling. Like, pay attention to your middle toe. Is there some special feeling in your middle toe right now?
Well, there's a little tingling now.
Yeah. But so often, there's no special feeling one way or the other.
Trying to figure out what it's a feeling, but it's nothing.
Well, you're saying it's nothing because it's neither pleasant nor unpleasant, but it is a feeling in its own right.
Wouldn't most experiences be more neutral?
There's a lot of
that's
neutral ones,
my
yeah.
experience is me sitting on the chair. It's very neutral. My feet touching the ground.
What is the
is
feeling
very
exactly?
neutral.
Yeah. So you find that out in your meditation. Yeah? Focus on, some part that you usually don't pay attention to. And, what does that, what does no pain and no pleasure feel like?
Well, I'm talking not in my body, I'm talking in my mind.
Yeah, well, even in your mind. You can start with your body. It's sometimes easier in the body, but then in your mind too. And then, watch, because, the pain and pleasure, the mental pain and pleasure are so prominent that we pay attention to them. But probably when you're sweeping the floor, there's kind of a neutral feeling in your mind if you pay attention to it.
Like a bored feeling, but
Yeah.
it might be considered me, I guess, okay.
I find boredom very aversive.
Very
Aversive.
aversive. Okay. So you react to boredom with aversion. Yeah. Some people react to boredom with just zoning out, kind of, yeah.
I read that the 4 satipathanas can be done in one. I was wondering, how can you do the 4 mindfulness with the breath? When you do the 4 with the breath, in the Satipatthana Sutra, the Anapanasati Sutra, then it talks of 16 steps,
for watching your breath, and 4 pertain to the body, 4 to feelings, 4 to mind, and 4 to phenomena. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So with regard to the mind and phenomena,
Mm-hmm.
so the mind we're viewing as the space or the something upon which all the mental factors play out.
The mind is clarity and knowing. Yeah, so it's something. It's clarity and knowing, and the mental factors also have the nature of clarity and knowing.
So the mind is not separate from the mental factors.
No, when we have a mental state, there's a primary mind of one of the 6 consciousnesses, and then there's various mental factors that are with it, together with it, and they're all one nature. And they say that like the primary mind just focuses on that particular sphere, like whether it's visual or auditory or mental. And then the mental factors fill in certain details of how that consciousness functions. So there's 5 mental factors that are there with every single consciousness that we have. Feeling is one of them. Yeah. So, okay. So they're all there together.
Okay. But then the idea is that with contemplation, you're going to be able to see the mind as this neutral space, kind of.
Yeah. Well, with the mindfulness of the mind, what you're trying to do there is see the conventional nature of mind, just the clarity and awareness. Okay? There's going to be the mental factors attached, but you're not going to have any special feeling, you're not going to have any special discrimination, any special intention. You're just trying to look at the basic quality of clarity and awareness. Okay? And it's very hard to identify that. Yeah. Yeah. So you might try with some of the other ones that are a little bit easier, and then sometimes go to that one. Yeah. Yeah. Because I find when I do that one, my mind wants to start visualizing something. It's like, okay, well, what does clarity and awareness look like? And is it here, or is it out there, or is it underneath? And it's like, no, that's none of that. But then you really see the kind of the habitual patterns of how our mind works. And
well, I think that's fascinating in itself. Just sort of, wait a second, is it behind my eyes? Is my mind out there? Is it behind my ears?
Yeah, right.
Not really.
Yeah, why do we feel our mind is in here? Why do we feel our self is in here? But then sometimes we feel emotions and we feel that they're down here. And sometimes we feel the self is there. But if you cut your body open here, you cut your body open there, are you going to find yourself? Mm-hmm.
I've been doing the skeleton. I'm still doing the skeleton. I kind of move in and out of it, but I always go back to it. But I'm doing the one where you don't put the flesh back on and it disappears.
Mm-hmm. But then you have to come back to seeing yourself, as you.
Well, I guess I'm glad I asked the question.
No, I mean, because your automatic feeling of here's a body comes back.
No, I like to stay there.
Yeah, you can stay there, but as soon as you get up, you're aware of having a body, and you put your shoes on because the snow's cold.
Yeah, but it takes a while. I focus here.
Uh-huh.
Right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I have a question about it's in the six-step breathing practice.
Mm-hmm.
I just love this transforming one, but I don't think I quite have got it all together. It says the awareness, which is familiar with concentrating on the breath, has to be transformed into the nature of the 4 stages of the path of preparation.
Yeah.
That, so I don't quite understand that.
Okay.
Involved in that. And then right after it's got, so first it's the awareness, and then it's the mind. Is the awareness and the mind meant to be the same thing in this?
Let me see. Because this one here is talking about developing a breathing practice so that when you enter the actual path with path of accumulation, path of preparation, path of seeing, path of meditation, path of no more learning, so there on that step you are, they're already assuming that you've mastered the basic thing and you're just transforming it into a mind that,
right, because
okay.
Up to that point we can maybe do it and then it takes that big jump.
Right, yeah. But what it's saying is that you do this practice and then, and the fifth one into the because the path of preparation has 4 stages. Okay, but in your path of preparation, you also have the union of serenity and insight. So this is something in the future when you've mastered the previous ones, then you come to do that one. And then the 6th one too, because at that part where it says the mind, it could be the awareness also, but the mind goes on to attain path of seeing and path of meditation based on this practice. Okay. But we're still at the baby beginning level.
I was wondering, the one previous to that about the elements, are we, meant to research the elements?
On the 5th one or the 4th one?
Analyzing.
Oh, how the breath is composed of the 4 elements and their 4 derivatives. Okay, so the 4 elements, instead of thinking earth, water, fire, air, think hardness, cohesiveness, heat, and mobility. And be aware, is there some, like when you breathe and you can feel the breath in the nostrils, there's got to be some hardness there because you're feeling the breath as it goes against the nostrils. There's cohesiveness. Might be some heat in your breath. There's some degree of heat. There's mobility, especially in your breath. And then the derivatives are things like colors and that stuff. So, do you think of your breath as having a particular color?
I have a question.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so now I just watched the body, right? Mm-hmm. So the body is just like, it's not like a nature of phenomena. It's not attractive or unattractive. Yeah. It's attractive or unattractive just because of my function.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. To interpret like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So when I investigate the 32 parts, each part.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So of course my mind thinks every part is attractive by individual, each one put on the table.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, sometimes they discuss it, Yeah. But our daily life, right? When I meet, okay, those 30 parts. If I saw a lady, okay, it's a hair, because when the party is the ugly or unattractive, but assemble together again.
Yeah, then they look good, don't they?
The hair maybe still, I don't know, the hair is beautiful. I compare beautiful.
Yeah.
But it's attractive or unattractive? I'm not sure. Yeah, maybe a little attractive too.
Well, attractive and beautiful kind of mean the same thing.
Maybe the same thing.
Yeah.
Okay. Then also the hair and the skin and the tooth, right? These 3 parts.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think other parts, okay, no problem for me.
Yeah.
But these 3 parts, I think, still attractive.
Yes,
Not so attractive as before. Maybe a little bit. So
Yeah, well, this is where we see so clearly how even though our wisdom sees there's nothing, when you take it apart, the wisdom sees there's nothing there that's beautiful. But when you put them back together, how our ignorance looks at them and creates beauty where there is none. Yeah, because if there's no beauty in the individual parts, then putting the parts together isn't going to be beautiful. If you have a bunch of oranges on a table, putting them together isn't going to be an apple. So a bunch of unattractive parts put together, what is it that makes it beautiful? It's not coming from the side of the object. It's coming from the side of my mind. Yeah? And then we begin to see how deeply rooted these four distortions are. You know, how easily they just come to mind, even though when we meditate and develop our wisdom, we can see there's nothing there, just because we're so habituated. It's like, oh yeah, the hair, the body, you know, add some eyes and a few teeth, and, you know, oh, very attractive, especially when they're looking at me. Yeah? Yeah, if that lady is looking at somebody else, you might see her as attractive, but something else can come up also. Yeah? And then if you take that same lady and you know, fast forward and imagine what she's going to look like when she's 80 years old, then what? You know? When all that beautiful hair is now gray, yeah, and the skin is wrinkled.
But the problem is you imagine, you think, not the immediately the...
No, you're imagining. When the immediate thing you're seeing, you are imagining the beauty in that.
But when I see her, now attractive, I say...
That's your hallucination projected on her. She's not like, you see, this is how deeply our wrong conceptions are, is that it looks from her side. She is gorgeous, unrelated to my mind. The beauty is out there. But that's not true. Because if it were true, everybody who looked at her would say she was beautiful. If it were true, she would always be beautiful.
Yeah,
okay.
That's because of our mind.
This is our mind.
Yeah, because he's neutral.
Yeah.
He's neutral there, right?
Right.
Our mind. So,
right.
So I think that's the... then I did think, I see this lady, the hair, right? If I still think his hair or skin is beautiful, attractive, yeah, maybe my imprint, my habitual, right?
Yeah.
Is strong. When I see it, okay, then that's beautiful, right?
Right.
Yeah. So now I practice skeleton or press other things, right?
Yeah.
So to change my imprint inside.
Yes.
To modify my imprint.
Yes.
And when it appears, then, okay, we'll change my mind function.
Right.
Like that.
Right. You know, when she appears beautiful and you look, oh, that hair is very beautiful, then you imagine, you know, you take and you cut the hair off and you lift it off of her head and you put it on the table where you're going to eat. Her hair is right there and your bowl is right on top of it. Now what do you think? Or her hair is on top of your food. Or if you don't want to put all of her hair on top of her food, just put a few strands. Yeah?
So I have the other question.
Can I ask a follow-up on that before you go a different direction? I was just wondering if that mistake from our side, misperception, can actually be at the level of the sense consciousness.
No. This is our mental consciousness projecting.
So what about beauty in general?
Yeah. Well, beauty in general is very much in the eye of the beholder, isn't it? Yeah.
So
it's very much, it sometimes has to do with our karma, that we see beauty, you know, or we see ugliness. It sometimes has to do with with our karma.
Because you were
But-
talking on Thursday about how we can actually, with the sense consciousness, can perceive a scarecrow.
Right.
So can the sense consciousness perceive
A beautiful scarecrow.
a beautiful scarecrow, or a beautiful sunset, or
Uh-huh.
something of that nature?
Well, you might have the colors of the sunset, and there might be a pleasant feeling arising from seeing that. And then, you say, oh, it's beautiful. So you might say, I mean, I don't know, it's very difficult to say the beauty is coming from the side there because of the object, because...
No, that's not, I'm not asking whether or not it's coming from the object. I'm just asking whether or not the sense consciousnesses can be that mistaken.
Yeah, but if you're saying that the sense consciousness is seeing beauty, that means the beauty exists out there, independent of the mind. Because the sense consciousnesses are just perceiving raw data.
Okay, but then we were talking on Thursday about how a scarecrow is actually perceived at the level of
Well, you
the
can...
sense consciousness, which isn't just raw data.
Yeah,
Scarecrow is
but-
more than raw data.
Yeah, but you're not saying to yourself, oh, this is a
Yes.
scarecrow. It's you're just able to identify what that object is. Yeah. And then, oh, it's a scarecrow. I wonder why he has a scarecrow. The scarecrow's feet are awfully short. That,
Of course,
is
that's
after
mental
that.
elaboration,
Yeah.
of course. I mean, of course, when beauty and then the craving comes, it's definitely a whole lot
Yeah.
of mental elaboration.
Yeah.
Just wondering whether or not that has a seed all the
Yeah.
way down to...
well, there may be, like I said, some pleasant feeling from the object.
Okay.
Yeah. So,
Before we leave beauty,
Uh-huh.
can I ask a question?
uh-huh.
So I find I get hung up when, on the one hand, I go look at the autopsy pictures, and revulsion is
Right there.
accurate
Yeah.
for what I'm feeling.
Mm-hmm.
And then I think about that display of the body. You remember that was going around a few years
Right.
ago?
Body world.
Yes.
And like there was one where they sliced through.
Oh, where they have the...
organ,
Uh-huh.
and it looked like this incredible tree, and it was so fine.
Yeah, that was her involved in making the display. You do it and you polish it and you make it beautiful. So you're not really thinking that it's that organ.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Okay, and so like the same with all the capillaries running through the body.
Yeah.
I had this feeling of amazement.
Yes.
It was so,
Yeah, it looks so nice when you see all those capillaries there.
yeah.
But if, there were a person here and you open their flesh to see their capillaries,
Big miss.
yeah. So they just took it out and made it look very kind of, so you have this feeling of awe at the
They
body.
function as capillaries anymore.
Hmm?
When they're like that.
Yeah. Yeah, they have so much plastic in them by
So then
that
I've got
time.
another place where I get hung up.
Uh-huh.
So then, after the autopsy come all the babies, right? That's many feelings
Mhm.
come up. And then, we take, the book that has all the beautiful pictures of the little babies in utero, right?
Mm-hmm. So
I get,
you see how our mind can be manipulated?
yeah.
When things are presented one way, it's like, oh, isn't that precious? Look at that baby in utero, so beautiful. But when you're at a birth, yeah.
I fortunately or unfortunately found birthing my children one of the most expansive kind of
Right,
opening experiences of my life.
right, because you were birthing your kids. It's not because you were sitting there looking at what was inside of your body surrounding those babies
Okay.
and what those babies look like coming out and the umbilical cord and the placenta. You were up here, all that was happening down there. And your hormones were kicking in to make it this exhilarating experience. Yeah? Yeah. Is it on this thing of beauty?
Well,
too?
it was something you just said. That
Uh-huh.
brought to mind
Okay.
something. It's something you are up here and the rest of you is down here. This
Yeah.
is something that I'm really getting hung up on with regards to the body and feelings.
Mm-hmm.
Whenever I'm contemplating my body in any way, skeleton, corpse, 32 parts, feelings, I'm experiencing everything somewhere up here.
Yes, you went to college. And even if you didn't go to college, it would still be the same thing. One thing is, because our sense organs are so many of them are up here, we get that feeling that we're up here.
Right.
You know, and then also because of our education, the brain, we also think, I'm up here. But if you really do that and look at what is inside here, you know, and think of, you know, like the autopsy, you know, when they cut it open and there's just the brain in there and everything, and that's all that's there. And then our mind has created this feeling of, you know, I'm in here. Yeah? And it's so hard to move out of here and, let's say, you know, focus down here. How can I be down there? Sometimes it's hard even to get to your heart, you know. I'm angry up here. Actually, we're angry here. You know, do you feel love up here, or do you feel love in here? And is love in any of those places, actually? So it's very interesting to see.
I guess what I'm worried about, not worried, but is that by continuing to contemplate this, I'm just reinforcing Mr. Brain-centric view. And if you have any suggestions, like, should I try to bring it down?
Yeah, try. When you, like, if you're, let's say, doing mindfulness of sensations and your knee's hurting, put the perceiver in the knee. You know. Now the thing is, we usually think the perceiver is seeing because we're so identified with the eyes, and the eyes are here. So then you try and think of the perceiver down there, but you can't see pain. Yeah.
Picture the knee when it's true. The first time.
Yeah. You picture the knee and you have a sense of the outline of where everything is, even though you may not feel the surface of your skin. You have an idea of, like, okay, what it looks like and everything. And then you can see some of the conceptualization, you know, that we've been trained in. You know, when we're little kids, our teachers in school, because I remember being an elementary school teacher, one of the things we had to teach kids is how to be aware of where their body was. Yeah? Because some kids just didn't have awareness of where their body was. And babies don't have awareness of it. Yeah. So a lot of that, you know, it's very deeply ingrained, but it's stuff we learned this life.
When I worked as a physical
Yeah.
therapist, we had to do the same thing
Hmm?
with people with balance problems.
Uh-huh.
They weren't aware of their body. And the thing that we
Mm.
do, that you teach at the beginning of the breathing meditation, where you sense the body and feel the contact against the floor and things like that, actually really helped. Also getting people not to talk,
Mm.
pay attention, and then just sense
Yeah.
contact of the surface is really helpful.
Yeah.
So my question is for the Tantra practitioner,
Mhm.
yeah, how do you balance, you know, yeah, because we see everything is pure, right?
Right.
Yeah, but now we press like
See-
everybody is attractive, you know, something
Yeah.
here.
Okay.
How do you-
How do you balance it? Okay. So with tantric practice, seeing things pure, seeing things impure, to be aware that in the context of trying to generate renunciation of the first two noble truths, then we look at, you know, body, feelings, mind, and phenomena very clearly, exactly as they are. You know, in our ordinary perception of to the ordinary perception of a limited, ignorant mind. To see things clearly, instead of with the usual distortions that our ignorant mind paints on top of these things. Yeah. So we're trying to see them for what they are. In the tantric practice, this whole body, feelings, all that, it all dissolves into emptiness. And then the wisdom mind appears as the body of the deity. So it's not that you imagine this body becoming the body of the deity. It's not this flesh and blood unattractive body that suddenly becomes poof, the deity's body. But you meditate on emptiness and you see that this body is also empty of inherent existence. And at that time, then the appearance of this contaminated body goes away. And you focus on the wisdom of emptiness, and that wisdom appears in the form of a purified body. Okay? So it's not like in tantric practice that you go around and, and I'm looking at her and all of a sudden, she's green and she's sitting like this, even while she's cooking her food. No, the other hand. And you have to make sure you smile. Yes, that's it. Okay, and get your lotuses in place. Okay, but yeah, so it's not that you go around thinking, imagining that everybody is a statue of a deity. Okay?
So the daily life, when I see a lady, right? So now maybe I visualize everything that's not truly existent. Now become empty, then appear, arise like very pure.
Right.
Like
yeah, but appears as a deity. So might appear as Yamantaka. Then, so she appears as Yamantaka. So are you going to get all turned on looking at Yamantaka? Yeah? Yeah, Annika's not going to, not going to do that for you. Okay? And then you have to ask yourself, it's all bodies, it's all food. We all eat the same food. Yeah? So isn't it interesting? We all eat, here. We're all eating the same food. But when that food is it going into one body and becomes that body, I think it's beautiful. When it goes into another body, it's not beautiful. Yeah, this body's attractive, that body's not attractive, but they're all made of the same food. Isn't that strange? Yeah? And then also look at the person's body. If you think a body's attractive, imagine what that body looked like when it was an infant. Then imagine what that same body looks like when they're 80 years old. Yeah. Then imagine what that body looks like when it's sick. Yeah. So you take that same body and, it's in different forms, and then it's so often not attractive. Yeah, remember when the Buddha left the palace? They had just finished this big gala disco event, and all of the dancing girls were on the floor asleep and disheveled and drooling and snoring. Yeah?
Yeah, I can imagine that.
Yeah.
Scratching or farting every 5 minutes.
Yeah.
Even though, we're not going to call it beautiful and that, don't we think the body is remarkable?
Yeah.
Its ability to heal when it,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, in the medicine Buddha,
Yeah.
I think what I got from that was that the ultimate healing is enlightenment. And
Yeah.
that healing begins with your body.
Yeah. But, the body, as, some physical phenomena that's quite intricate, is very remarkable. Okay? But healing the physical body is just one part. Because wouldn't it be nice not to have this body that got sick to start with? wouldn't it be nice not to take a body that is going to age and get sick and die? Yeah, the Buddha's, medicine Buddha's body doesn't get old and sick and die. Wouldn't it be nice, to emanate a body of light that inspired other beings to, develop their own good qualities? That would be a lot nicer than just being born in this kind of thing again. It is remarkable, but when you have a choice of having a body made of light that never experiences pain. Yeah?
And it's interesting, the remarkable of it and how we can heal it. If all the people that thought about and figured out how to keep it going and healing it, if they put that effort into transforming the mind, we would be in a much different place.
Well, can I just say, because I know I'm in real trouble with this, because I work with the body and healing, and I'm forgetting what I'm going to say here. But it's more than the mind, or it's more than the brain. When healing is done, you feel totally inside your body and one with your body, and it feels good. And then your body can heal, and you're much better off than you were before.
Right.
So you got that balance there.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
I think that's
Right.
yoga to me too.
Yeah.
So that's the path to me.
Yeah.
but the final result is it's still going to die.
Yeah, but it's like a flower or a tree that's bloomed, and
Right.
you can't just throw it all out. I mean, there
Yeah.
is beauty in that. I know I am arguing with myself too on this, but
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, in that way, and of course healing the body, healing the person is wonderful. It's like, what would be a good example? If you really have to go somewhere, driving, and all there is some old beat up car, that's great. You want to ride in that old beat up car because it sure beats walking, doesn't it? But then if you have a choice between the old beat up car and, some magical thing that just got you there immediately without skidding on the ice and going through the bumps and breaking down on the way, you'd take that, wouldn't you? Yeah, I mean, the old beat up car is good when you have it and you need it and you keep it in good shape. Yeah, because if you don't, you won't be able to use it.
So then here would be always useful to remember the context, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, one of the fortunes, the freedoms and fortune is having the human birth, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because
Right.
it's the only body that has the sixth element that can take you to enlightenment, Miller reflected it in the human body. So it's always good then to know that the context is with, like you say, right, like a specific reaction or a specific kind of like thing that we're working on a base level, not on a
Right.
higher level, because ultimately on a higher level, this is precious human resource.
Yeah.
It's the only
Right.
one that we can
Yeah.
use. Right?
Do you remember at the beginning, when I gave the beginning talks, I talked about that there's different ways of seeing the body in different contexts? And so just what you said, that when you're thinking about precious human life and the fortune we have to be able to meet and practice the Dharma, this human body is wonderful. Yeah? When you're trying to when you have the purpose to generate renunciation of samsara, then you meditate and see the body in a different way. Okay? So it's this thing of being able to look at something from many, many different perspectives in different contexts, instead of getting locked in to it's one way and that way only.
This is one of the things that when I'm doing the mindfulness of the body, I have a really difficult time with the word foul. I just doesn't, when I'm doing the meditations, I just don't use that word. I say I say not clean, or
that's
something
fine.
like
That's
that.
fine. Yep.
Because when I think about, just the same thing, the thing that's been really affecting me about reading what His Holiness's commentary on that particular thing was that this body isn't very, doesn't have any meaning if you're not doing something useful with
Yes,
it, if you're not doing
exactly.
something beautiful with it. So, like healing a body that, like if I was just to heal my body and then not do anything with it, like play video games the rest of my life, I don't know if that healing is very beautiful in that particular situation.
Yeah.
But if healing my body is an incredibly beautiful thing, as long as I'm making sure that my body is being used to help people and to really understand things. So in that same way, like I can't use the word foul, like because it seems to me the same thing as saying it's pure. You know.
Yeah. It's fine to change the vocabulary. Some people like to use unclean. Other people don't like the term unclean at all. They prefer foul.
Right.
Yeah. So everybody has their own emotional connotations with different words. You can choose what works for you. It's fine. Yeah. But you're absolutely right. You know, unless we're doing something useful.
Yeah.
Yeah. Then what's the purpose?
I don't like either terms. I like unattractive.
It's
not attractive.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
very much.
It's
not
unattractive.
Unattractive. Yes, quite unattractive. Okay, well, maybe not so much.
Which one's going to swipe at the other one first? Yeah, you know, you might see which word works well for you. For me, unattractive isn't strong enough. Yeah, I need a strong word. Yeah, but everybody's quite different. Yeah.
There is a documentary on National Geographic, Inside Living Body.
On the what body?
Inside
The-
Living Body.
Living. Oh, inside. Oh.
And they basically show all the processes from the birth to death.
Mm-hmm.
And it was interesting to kind of see the body as just a huge production, like in a factory. So it's not even me, because they would, for example, say in the first hour of life of the baby,
Mm-hmm.
there are so many processes that happening. The heart is enlarging, this and that. It's like I wouldn't even know about all this. It's just happening. So I don't know, it's helpful for me to think that way. Instead of, you know, attractive and attractive. It's just like, it's something that is just happening.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
My father died a number of years ago, and I was with him, and I was with him. And when he finally died, he was just laying there, and he was just a corpse. There wasn't anything happening. He just stopped breathing, and he was functionless. But there was something really wonderfully beautiful about that for me. I sat there and I did, King of Prayers and so forth. And I think through the practice this week, it's been that if he did not die and was permanent, then he couldn't change and become a Buddha.
Mm-hmm.
So that, looking back, that is what's so wonderfully beautiful about that experience.
Mm-hmm. Mm. Is that impermanence also can indicate the possibility of good transformation.
Yeah, I was happy for him,
Mm.
despite my clinging.
Like what?
Despite my clinging.
But yeah, that he was free of that particular body. Yeah, but then you also have to think about where's his consciousness going.
That's why
So.
it's very hard.
When I meditate the body from the beginning, from the first moment, we are going to the mother womb. Yeah, then from that time, we just take for elements to, nourish our body. Until we're born, we are baby, young, and stronger, and old man, middle man, old man. All the time, we like, how to say, organic material,
Mhm.
right?
Mhm.
We just eat from the four element and go out four element. When we die, the same, like four element.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's all the four element that's going. Yeah, there's no I there.
Mhm.
But the conscious just live in this like an organic house like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, live inside it.
Yeah.
Right. So at that time, then I think, yeah, okay. So this house, right? Yeah. Now I live here, right? So hey, okay, somebody also can live here. Yeah. So like a Tibetan Bowa, right? Bowa, the all consciousness can go to the other's body, right? So
That's it can go into a corpse.
the corpse. Oh, okay. Then I think once I asked Master Xuanhua, that's the founder, Master Xuanhua, once asked him, can the conscious, your conscience go to others' body, right? Yeah. So now this retreat let me remind, it seems like can move like that. Then he told me a story. He said one of the Asian master, he liked to go to downtown to see one kind of food. Right? He heard that, but he doesn't know what is like that. Yeah, but he's too old to go down the mountain. Now one early morning, he changed his mind, go to his disciples' body. Yeah, and go down the hill to see what's that. And his disciple every morning wake up to see, woke up, look like very old. So then I create a question. So how this function, how the conscious, we live here, right?
Mm-hmm.
How the other conscious coming here?
From
And how many
from the
conscious-
Tibetan Buddhist viewpoint, that wouldn't happen.
One day. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. You can't have two consciousnesses. Kind of, You can't just put yourself in somebody else's body. I mean, in a case like of, let's say, the Nechung Oracle, yeah, they have that particular spirit that temporarily suppresses the consciousness of the medium and does, goes into trance. But then that spirit leaves. Yeah. So we that story I wouldn't go into.
But
Yeah.
some people, like people is normal people, right? Suddenly become like crazy, right? The people think some other conscious.
Yeah,
go
some.
inside their body?
Yeah, not necessarily. I mean, sometimes maybe, but it could be some kind of hindrance. It could also be a chemical imbalance in the brain. We don't really know. And different cultures describe it differently. Some cultures, would describe those symptoms as spirit possession or spirit affliction, and some cultures would describe it as imbalance in the brain chemistry, and somebody else might describe it as, something else. Yeah. And so what exactly it is in each particular situation, maybe you have to have some kind of clairvoyant power to be able to tell
Regarding
that.
to phenomena,
Uh-huh.
in your teachings, you seem to emphasize a focus on 51 mental factors
Mm-hmm.
and to discern which ones we're going to adopt and develop and which ones we're going to discard on the path.
Mm-hmm.
But different texts, different sources.
Oh yeah,
indicate-
there's other things that you meditate on with phenomena. You go into the 7 awakening factors and all those other things, the 4 noble truths, the 5 hindrances. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. But most of those are some kind of mental factor.
Right,
Yeah.
right. But you just find it most beneficial to focus on the list that you.
Well, you can focus on that list. I mean, that'll keep you busy for a while. And, and then kind of when you can identify all those and have understood all those, then, it's good to see the ones like the 7 enlightenment factors. It's good, but those, if we don't have those so much in our mind, they may be harder to see.
I guess that's sort of, I'm not really phenomena because I don't really even know how to go about
Uh-huh.
phenomena. It's like-
Well, yeah, one way is just to watch different emotional states. Yeah. Or like, they also have the Four Noble Truths, Noble Eightfold Path, all those different things in there. So you can review those as well. Or the 5 hindrances, hindrances to concentration. Those are our mental factors, but they're also quite good to be able to identify in our own experience, because we have them all the time.
So you sort of pick them out and see when it arises and what happens.
Yeah, and see how they run our life. Yeah, and the first one is sensual desire. That one is that one's king. Our whole life is dependent on. Yeah.
You have debates.
Okay, so people okay continuing on, and yeah, you feel good about what your practice is doing, and you play with all these kinds of things and work with them and go deeper, and and some meditation sessions your mind's very clear and you really get things, and sometimes your mind's not so clear, but just watch it in the different things. And especially it's quite interesting, well, what happened that my mind's clear today and it wasn't clear yesterday? Yeah. Was there something that happened on the outside? Is there something that happened in the inside? Is it just a different karma ripening? And then watch, how you relate to that. Oh, I have a clear mind. Oh, yippee, now I'm going to get somewhere. Or, oh, I have a dull mind. Oh, God, I'm always a failure. And just watch all of that stuff, because that's mindfulness of phenomena, what to practice, what to discard. So instead of buying into all your thoughts and all your emotions, watch them and try and discriminate which thoughts and emotions are accurate and beneficial and which ones aren't. Yeah? Uh-huh.
Yeah, I don't know how long lasting it is, but I have had a bit of a breakthrough in that regard since I've been working on this.
Mm-hmm.
And it's come up in a couple different ways. Like one session today, I was very sleepy, and I wasn't getting over it. So then there was a little edge creeping in, of getting on kind of a rag, and so then I thought, well, okay, do Vajrasattva. So I did Vajrasattva, and then after that, I thought, well, just be happy. Think about all the things you can be grateful for, that you're here.
Mm-hmm.
And so then I just started making lists about all that. And I had in my mind, you could go funky.
Mm-hmm.
You know how to do that.
Oh, yeah.
But there's something about, through the meditations that has given me this different perspective in terms, I guess, of going to either that craving and grasping of attachment or aversion.
Mm-hmm.
So at least in this moment, I am noticing that I have a lot more choice.
Yes.
And
Yes.
the other thing is with negative thoughts about people,
Mm-hmm.
like somebody turns a page.
You mean they're reading in the meditation hall after I told them not to read, and they're not listening to me?
Well, I've chastised them for you.
Oh, okay.
We got that covered.
Okay, good. Yeah, then.
But I also had this thought, it really came from something Zopha said the other day about a bodhisattva having a playful quality.
Mm-hmm.
And so I have thought of kind of that, well, it doesn't matter about that part, that's just silly, but I have thought, oh, so instead of getting after yourself for that not very nice thought you just had about that person, I've been playing, at least some of the time, with just saying, oh, I caught you.
Mhm.
And just
Yep.
leaving it at that.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah, so it's
That's all you
both
need
of
to
those have
do.
been really nice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Good. Good. Okay. Shall we dedicate?